It's not bad, but I can understand you wanting to.
I'll try one more time, and
Yeah,
if it corrects again, we'll just. There we go.
that's pretty good. Job
There
well
we
done.
go.
That is what I look like.
You want to make sure that handsome face looks good.
I
Oh
appreciate
boy,
it. A face made for radio, as they say.
face made for radio. You're a face made for billboards. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Long Form Conversations, the podcast where we talk long form improv. Today, I am joined by a very special guest. This is a talented actor, filmmaker, and improviser. He doesn't like to be called an improviser, but like it or not, buddy, that's what you are. Please welcome Evan Cleaver.
David, it's good to be here. I listen to this podcast. I'm a huge fan, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate you stopping by on your weekend. Such a nice, beautiful day outside.
It's a beautiful day. The tourists are ripping and running through Hollywood. So I'm glad to have a fun reason to get out and about on a day like this.
People might recognize you from being on stage on UCB. They also may recognize you. You used to work doing take-ins. How did you find out about UCB, or why did you? Because that's how I first saw you. I remember I was going to go see a show, and you were the guy at the front door, very friendly, very personable. But,
Yeah. I worked at the box office at UCB, and then I got promoted to house manager at UCB. And my secret was I wanted to watch shows, and thankfully, thanks to Isabella Rowland, who was the house manager at the time, I got to watch all the shows because the rule was one person needs to be in the box office, one person needs to be in the house. And she was kind enough, my fairy godmother of UCB was kind enough to always, because she'd been around UCB for a while, to always be the person at the box office so that I got to go in and watch shows all night. And that's really why I fell in love with it. I think, to answer your question, when I first found out about it, that's interesting. I can't pinpoint exactly. I think it was just always in my ether.
We'll talk more about that into your history.
Yeah.
I was just curious if this was just another job or if this was like the job you wanted to get.
No, it was intentional. I wanted to get involved in UCB. I wanted to be a part of the community, and that working there was a great entryway to do that. I got to meet everyone. I got to see a ton of shows. I got to learn a lot about improv from watching. So that was an intentional move. I was in a class with Alex Fernie, Simplifying Game. And he said, when you watch, think about what moves you would make.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I would think of something that I thought would work. And other times I would be watching teams and I would think of something, and then they'd do something, they'd make another move, and I go, oh, that was so much better because it X, Y, Z, it gave them this. So me working there was not, just me, scrolling through Indeed or something. I wanted to work at UCB. That was a great launching pad for me into the community. Yeah.
There was a time before I moved to LA, I was working at a call center where I was like, man, I work 8 hours a day, but I'm miserable. I'm sad. And I was like, maybe I should work at a boba shop. Maybe I should work I love movies. Maybe I should work in a movie theater.
Right.
I was just looking for like someplace that
Tarantino route.
Huh?
The Tarantino route, working at a movie theater. Yeah.
Yeah. We're working at not a movie store, but like just, anything that I could do just to like meet people and like socialize. Cause I wasn't really getting much of that. Thankfully, I didn't work there very long, but I remember, especially when I moved to a new city, whenever like you do try something new, like it's hard to like get situated.
Right.
So sometimes a good way to jump into new communities or new environments is like surrounding yourself around them, however you can, by working there, by volunteer and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. So many people in the community I've found out used to do internships because I think they used to have a coffee shop. I didn't get involved in UCB till post-pandemic, but in the before times, so many people I run across, whether they're on Herald or whether they graduated from Herald, whatever, I realized they at some point worked at UCB or interned there to get free classes. So I think that's really smart. And you're a movie lover. I incorrectly said Tarantino worked at a theater. You're right, but they don't. I think he worked at a movie store, but they don't
video
have
store, yeah.
a video store. Yeah, they don't have um, blockbusters. I miss when I lived in Atlanta. They had a place called Videodrome, which was really cool. I hope it's still there.
Yeah.
Where they actually sold that. Something like that would be a cool place to where I thought about applying to movie theaters too.
Well, right now there's have you heard about Vidiots or been to Vidiots yet? Up in Eagle Rock. It's a bit of a drive, but it's like an old theater from like the 19, I don't know, 40s or 50s.
Okay.
And they play old movies, but attached to it, they also have a little movie rental shop. So people can go there to rent movies.
That, man, I miss doing that. I miss walking in Blockbuster Video, looking at all the movies on the wall, making a selection. Now, I get that it's a lot easier and more convenient for streaming. There was something about a tangible physical building to go and look and pick up your movies, watch it, return and get another one.
In high school, every summer, that's what I would do. I would, because you have so much free time.
Right.
So on top of everything I was doing, whatever, summer school, sports, whatever, hang out with my friends, I would always go to the video store every day to like rent a new movie.
Yeah.
And I think it is a good little ritual. It's a good thing because I think there's a lot of, I don't know what the right term is, but I don't think we appreciate like streaming,
Yeah.
There's no no connection to it. Cause I told you I was on a plane for the day and I was just scrolling through these movies and like, they're good movies and they're probably movies that I should watch just because of all the options, it's hard to pick.
Yeah.
But when you go to a video store, similarly, there's like thousands and thousands of movies, but you pick it, you hold it,
right.
You pay for it. So therefore, you need to make time to watch it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Also, there's people there. There's somebody there at Blockbuster.
You can talk to.
That's I live within walking distance of a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And Seinfeld's got that funny episode about, David's picks or Evan's pick, about the person who worked there and Elaine falls in love with the guy who has such similar picks. You could go talk to the employees because they were usually they're movie heads, so they had seen a bunch and see what they recommended. And you could pick up your popcorn. It was an experience. I miss going to the movies. I miss Blockbuster videos. I want to get out and do more of it.
Well, what part of LA are you in?
I'm in North Hollywood.
Okay, so maybe not too bad. You can go down to 134 to try to get over to Vidiots. Yeah. Or I haven't been there yet, but I know there's also Be Kind Rewind.
Okay.
Which is maybe closer to you. It's going to be in the Valley.
Yeah, which is also the name of a film.
Yeah.
I'm so behind on movies right now that are in the theater. I've been watching a lot of stuff that I feel like there's so many movies. First of all, I've watched all 100 of the AFI top 100 movies of all time. I spend so much time watching movies where I feel like I should have seen them that I missed some of the new stuff. Like I just watched Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything. I just watched that not too long ago. I'm looking for Sex Lies and Videotape. It's on Amazon, but you have to pay for it. So, I mean, movies like that, I feel like they're in the zeitgeist. It bothers me that if I have, a movie like that, I haven't seen.
I don't think you should feel too pressured. I mean, I'm similar where there are like, I try to watch as much as I can, but there are some gaps in my movie history. I just watched Gladiator for the first time.
Oh, wow.
A couple of days ago. And people are like, how could you not see it? It's like, it's easy because there's so many.
Much, yeah. That one is that's a great film.
Yeah. Well, we can talk here about theory of theater and film all day.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good segue to dive into your journey now. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our first segment here, which is going to be Improvster Syndrome. Bow, bow, bow. So this is going to be your opportunity to talk to us about your journey through improv, any struggles you may have. Again, a lot of people listening to this, as you know, going through all the same things. So we'd love to hear that. But I know that you also have a pretty extensive background behind improv. I think that's also really important. So let's talk about you as an actor and how you even, let's start there. Yeah.
I went to Dillard University, which is a historically Black university in New Orleans that I love. That place shaped me, it raised me, and I majored in theater arts there. So my concentration was acting there.
And how'd you choose to go into theater before that? Because that's I'm pretty sure for most people, a very scary thing to
Right.
pursue, especially, moving. Where'd you grow up again?
Originally from Missouri.
Yeah. So to
Yeah.
move from Missouri, St. Louis.
KC,
Okay.
other side of the state.
To move from Kansas City to
To
New
New Orleans, yeah.
Orleans, big jump.
Yeah. My mom is a psychologist and my dad is a pastor. So
Mhm.
that forms an actor when you put those two together.
Yeah.
My grandmother was a theater major, Betty Lou Donaldson. She was a theater major at KU. God rest her soul. So I think it's in my DNA.
Hmm.
She was a theater major at KU, but ended up working in social work. I mean, at that time, even now, for a Black person or anybody to pursue a career as an actor is really difficult. So she ended up doing social work. But my mom uh, and grandma, they would take me to plays, and I would get back in the car, and I would always be imitating the actors that I saw on stage. So I think it's something I always had interest in. I My mom has seen all of the AFI Top 100 movies.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a cinema lover. She still, to this day, will recommend movies that she thinks I need to see. She just asked me to watch Society of the Snow, which is another heavy one, but worth it. So I think it got passed down to me. I did start at Dillard as a psychology major.
Oh, okay. So did you do any acting or drama in high school?
I did some. I'm a member of a church, St. James, back home in KC, and we used to do church plays. So I would do church plays. I'm a basketball player, so I played basketball in high school. I started 4 years in varsity, and then I went to Dillard University and got a basketball scholarship. So
And it started with psychology.
yeah, I was a psychology major when I first got to Dillard, and then I switched to theater. So my degree is in acting, with a minor in creative writing.
When did you make the switch to major?
Sophomore year, beginning of sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I graduated, the day I was walking the Oaks, the Avenue of the Oaks, on the Jewel of Gentilly, as they call it, Dillard University, they told me I was the first person to graduate on an athletic scholarship with a degree in theater.
Yeah.
That's my claim to fame at Dillard. Yeah.
You're like Troy Bolton.
Yeah. Everybody says I need to watch that.
Sorry about that.
No, but I need to watch it. I need to watch it. I need to watch it.
I mean, it's fun. It's a fun kids, family thing. But
what scares me off is that the clips of it, he doesn't look like he could play basketball, but maybe he can. I need to.
No, he can't. He
okay.
Can't. I mean, it's they don't do very much. Basketball scenes. So I think there's a couple of dance numbers on the court.
Yeah,
but there's no like serious games.
Okay, I'll check it out.
But that's amazing that you were able to, kind of chase that passion. And if you don't mind me asking, were your parents supportive of that change?
So supportive. My parents have uplifted me and prayed for me and helped me every step of the way. When I decided I wanted to be an actor. I mean, even the times when it's been difficult for me to keep going, they're the ones who encourage me to keep at it. And they remind me, they'll say to me, it's mainly because we think you're good.
Yeah.
And I think that's, your passion and purpose. So they've never batted an eye, helping me in any way I needed, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, whatever I've needed. I'm grateful to have parents that have supported me, because when I left Dillard, funny enough, I went to, so I was actually still living in New Orleans when Katrina came. And my sister saved my life. She saved my life twice. So she has one more rule of three comedy.
Yeah.
Because I was going to stay in New Orleans, and she asked me to leave so she would feel better. And I ended up leaving New Orleans with only, like a little weekend bag, because I thought it'd be some wind and some rain. And then it was a lot more than wind and rain.
Yeah.
So I went back home to Missouri, and I stayed for a while. I knew I needed to make a move, so I ended up auditioning for grad schools to get my MFA in acting. Got in about, went to URTA, if you've ever heard of URTA.
No, give me what does it spell out?
Unified Regional Theater Auditions, I believe. That may be wrong. If it is, I apologize to URTA. But I recommend it, because you can go audition for undergrad or graduate school programs.
Mhm.
And all of the schools, most of the schools are there in one place.
So it's like a universal audition. This takes care of you having to like travel.
Right. There'll be 60, 70 universities out there represented at art schools.
Before we jump too far, so just in case my audience doesn't know, I personally don't know much about a theater school or getting an MFA. What is like the training like for an undergrad versus the grad school? Like, what is the big transition or the big jump there?
Well, when I was at Dillard, I was, on a basketball scholarship. So, that used a lot of my time. Now
what position did you play?
Point guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still have handle on you?
I still can play a little bit. I'm still smart.
Yeah. Okay. You got that good IQ.
I still play a couple of times a week. It gets my cardio without having to think about it.
Right.
So I didn't get as involved in the theater as someone who wasn't on a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a BA. So that means I'm still taking biology. I'm still taking American government. I'm still taking algebra. I still have, as opposed to a BFA, a bachelor's of fine arts in theater or in acting would mean, it's a conservatory where all your classes are pretty much related to the craft of acting. So because I was on a basketball scholarship and because my degree was a BA, I felt like I needed more hardcore training if I wanted to become the actor that I wanted to be, because I looked at people like Don Cheadle, Jeffrey Wright, Sidney Poitier, Tom Hanks, my grandmother's favorite. I wanted to be great. And Don Cheadle, a lot of the people I noticed that were my heroes in acting, the people I looked up to, the Meryl Streeps of the world, the Angela Bassett's of the world, they had formal training. So I wanted to get an MFA, which is why I went to URTA to audition in front of all these schools. I got about 12 offers. And speaking of my parents, I had some offers to some, full ride to get my MFA in acting. UC Irvine.
That's where I went.
Yep. I think I've heard you mention that.
Yeah.
To get my MFA in acting, LSU. And I chose a school that cost CalArts. They had some partial scholarship, but there was some connection there. So I'm just tying that into my parents being supportive, even though I chose I had full ride offers. I chose a program that cost, and my parents were supportive because it was a conservatory.
Where is CalArts?
It's in Valencia. So LA County is so big. I believe it's still in LA County, but it's up north, up to 5.
Yeah, that's where Six Flags is.
It's right by Six Flags.
Gotcha. So tell me about that. What was it like? So this is, a huge step. No longer are you like balancing between basketball. No longer is it like a minor with creative writing.
Right.
Now it's, I'm guessing 24/7 acting.
24/7. Yeah. Your first class is at 9 a.m. You go to classes, say it'll be voice one class, and then you'll have speech, and then maybe a dance or something movement related. You'll have
dance. Voice as in singing.
There is a singing class, but a voice more for stage voice. And then you'll have a break from noon to 1 where you're supposed to get your lunch. And then from 1 to 5, you're in acting studio. And then you have a break from 5 to 6 where you're supposed to be getting your dinner. And then you would have rehearsal for whatever play you're doing from 7 to 11. So the program at CalArts, most MFA conservatory programs, you have something scheduled from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And that does not account for when you're supposed to be learning your lines for what you're doing in acting studio or the play that you're doing. So you're getting beat with an acting stick.
Yeah, that sounds really intense. I mean, that's like a 10-hour day.
Yeah.
Why? No, that's not, sorry. I mean, I had the math on it. It's a 14-hour day.
Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah.
It's a long day, and it's 3 years of a long day.
That sounds very intense. I mean, is it healthy?
I felt like I grew 600 degrees.
Uh-huh.
I came out of that program at Cal Arts feeling like an acting superhero, whether it's true or not. After doing that every day for 3 years, I felt like there was nothing I couldn't do in terms of an acting. I felt like give me any script in the world, and some will fit better than others. But in terms of the acting execution of it, I felt like
Yeah.
I'd be ready.
You got your reps. I mean, more than anything else, right?
You got you got your 10,000 hours quickly. And I was so into it that I would, in my summers, I would still do internships.
Yeah.
I would do acting internships. I went to Theatricum Botanicum in the summers, or I would go to Heart of America Shakespeare Festival back home in the summer. So I would, for 3 years, or really for longer than that, but especially for those 3 years, I was just acting day and night.
And what was this community like? Because I'm guessing all your classmates are equally passionate as you are. Are you all getting along? You all like watching plays together, watching movies together? Or is it also, I imagine a lot of times some of these things might be also pretty lonely because you're having to like work, a lot of introspection, a lot of like remembering lines and breaking down the characters on your own.
Right. And a lot of breakthroughs, hard to maintain relationships. You do start with an ensemble. And you finish with that ensemble. So so the same schedule you have is the same schedule they have.
So you're spending 14 hours days with the same,
unless they're in a different play.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm doing Las Meninas or The Seagull or Top Dog Underdog. Some people in my ensemble may be doing, the Cherry Orchard. They may be doing another play at Cal Arts.
Yeah.
But if you're in the same play with them, for that period, you're gonna see them all day, every day. I think it's important, if anybody out there is this is funny that it's coming up because it actually there's some crossover between our topic of the week. But I think my advice to anybody in a BFA or MFA program: make friends outside of your ensemble.
Sure.
So that you have some other perspective on the world and what's going on.
And that was something that I was going to ask about, just even in regard to like, not even just the pace of what you're doing, but like I was wondering how healthy that's going to be because, I mentioned earlier, I was on a business trip, and I'm with like coworkers the whole day long. The beauty of it is after working, these are people that I love, enjoy working with, but after dinner, we're back at our hotel rooms. I think that alone time is really important. So I hope that, yes, if you're listening to this,
I think
we're a little family. That's great, but you also need time away from your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, even when I was getting my MFA at Cal Arts, I would use some time to go play basketball.
Great.
Off campus. I would, go see movies,
ride a roller coaster,
go on deck. I think that's important for their mental health. I will also say the instructors I had were great. And my mother, I can't say enough about my mom. Diane Cleaver did a great job with me because I think I've always been somebody who's aware. Even if my IQ isn't Imhotep or Einstein level, my EQ is a strength of mine. Right. I'm always in touch with how I'm feeling. My mom would always say, if you ask a man what he thinks, he'll tell you. If you ask a man what he feels, he'll tell you what he thinks. So I've even in a program as rigorous as Cal Arts, I was able to have days of mental health and wellness and make sure I was in a good place emotionally, and I always felt good. It helped that I was doing something I loved and having these creative breakthroughs. So even those 14-hour days, I was having fun, playing Hamlet at 1:00 and then going to play Nabu Sensagale in Las Meninas at 7 p.m. Like, to me, it was fun.
Yeah. They really throw you through it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. Shout out to Diane Cleaver for giving me a healthy mindset and healthy attitude towards that.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know much about theater. To me, theater always feels like it's a lot of drama, but was there a good balance of drama and comedies?
We did do some comedies. I think a lot of contemporary classical training is going to be heavier stuff. But I remember doing a scene from The Taming of the Shrew in acting studio that was hilarious. with my classmate Kendra Ware. That was so much fun to work on. There was some time we made some time for comedy, and Top Dog Underdog has which I did at CalArts as well, has some moments of levity.
Yeah.
So I think I started to dabble in comedy, even if I wasn't, fully, obviously the program is not a full-on comedy program.
Gotcha.
It's probably 70-30 drama to comedy.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I have always grown up liking comedies. It's always baffled me that a lot more actors don't like seek out comedies or like doing comedies. So I understand that there's a lot more, training and technique when it comes to some of the dramatic stuff. But just to get like, maybe I'm also lazy. Sometimes I like to take the easy way out. And I'm thinking like, if we're casting for a play, like, don't give me Hamlet. Give me the comedic relief. Give me the one with fewer lines and the funny one.
I agree. Yeah, you want to play Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Exactly.
I agree completely, because I think comedy is the more difficult of the two. I can spot and name a lot of comedic actors who cross over and do drama and they kill. Whereas when I think of some dramatic actors who I won't name in a public forum, and I see them go for a comedy and it does not work. Sure. I'm thinking about on the positive side, I'm thinking about when Robin Williams goes and does a film like Good Will Hunting or 1 Hour Photo, and is absolutely dynamite.
Yeah.
I see comedic actors, because I think the skill set is similar. It's easy to cross over. The difference between comedy and drama is a breath. Yeah. Whereas I don't think I can, teach somebody to be funny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm far from an expert. I don't really know if I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know enough to say, but to me, my interpretation, especially as a writer and as a director, whenever I think about comedic performances versus dramatic performances, is that comedy, you're playing two tones. You're playing dramatic as well.
Yeah,
you do need to set up the groundedness and the stakes before you can, breathe out that comedic.
Show what's funny about it.
Yes,
you have to. It
has to be serious before it can be funny. So whenever I do watch someone like Jim Carrey or even Eddie Murphy, whenever they do these more dramatic roles, they're just doing setup and they just never give you the relief of the punchline.
Right.
Versus drama, and again, they're much more versed and much more skilled at playing the groundedness and the tension, but they never, or when they try to break the tension, there's not as much experience under their belts doing that, because most of their background and most of the experience is in building tension and building stakes. And
I think to go back, I want to clean up. So I agree with you 100%. I think people can learn how comedy works. People can be led by a good instructor on finding their comedic voice and pulling their comedic voice out. But I don't, and I'm splitting hairs, but I think that's a little different than teaching somebody how to be fun. I think somebody's either funny or not. I think we can help people find their comedic voice.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't think, whereas drama, and I've taught acting at university level all the way down to itty bitties. I think I can teach somebody how to do a drama. Sure. I can't teach you how to, you know what I mean? I can teach you how comedy works, but if you're not funny, it won't help you.
Yeah. I mean, and after doing this podcast too, having so many, comedic people come on, I'm just learning the patterns. It's always the patterns. Right. And it's the history of it. No one has been, I was not funny until 18. Then I took a class and I was funny. It's usually they were funny growing up, or they had an appreciation for growing up. So anyways, jumping into this now that we're jumping into the comedy side of things, once you finish at CalArts, this is another thing I don't know about, and I'm, would love to hear more about. Like, once an actor finishes and they have that MFA, what comes next? Is there like showcases for agents or for representation, or do you move to LA?
Yeah. CalArts does a showcase in LA and New York. I got a little traction from it, not much. Some of my classmates absolutely took off. So I think it depends. For me, when I graduated from showcase, I moved. I was pounding the pavement in LA for a couple of years, and I wasn't able to gain any traction. Agents and managers wouldn't take me on. They kept saying, you need to have credits, but I can't have credits if you won't represent me. So
Yeah.
it's a catch-22. My way to
All those classmates on your ensemble,
right,
right? Same credits, right?
right.
So yeah, it's a system.
Yeah, and I think it's just an easy way to keep people out. Agents and managers sign people they want, but I think that's an easy, and if I'm being honest, a lazy learned response. You don't have any credits.
Yeah, it's an automatic response.
Yeah,
Easy thing to say, not to think about
yeah.
it.
At some point, Denzel Washington didn't have any credits. Somebody
Mhm.
signed him. At some point, Meryl
Yeah.
Streep, all great. No one was born with credits.
Yeah.
But my way to circumvent that is because I felt like I was in a hamster wheel. I went back to New Orleans because I knew they were doing a lot of film and TV there.
Mhm.
And I went to teach at Dillard University. So I was teaching at my alma mater,
Oh, that's great.
teaching, in the theater department.
Coaching basketball too?
Nah, that would have been cool, but that would have been a lot of work.
Yeah.
And they're doing so much film and TV in New Orleans. And I knew I could get an agent down there because there was a lot less actors, but still a lot of work. People would come once they already cast the leads, but a lot of the co-stars and the supporting roles they would cast. So I moved to New Orleans, started getting some credits, which was great. And then my next move was to Atlanta because New Orleans has some theater, but I knew Atlanta had a lot more equity theaters. So I moved to Atlanta. I worked at a theater company. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Atlanta's become I feel like the traditional thing has always been LA, New York, Chicago.
Yeah.
Atlanta, and maybe there's more, but Atlanta feels like it's another
yeah.
option now. Huge hub for acting and theater.
Yes, I think my personal journey, I don't think LA is a great place to start as a great place to start as an actor. I think it's a place to come after you've built some credits. I think Albuquerque falls in that category. New Orleans, Atlanta, Toronto, for those who have Vancouver.
Sorry, there's so many great areas. I didn't want to single out just those four.
But I think Atlanta is awesome because of the tax credits. There's a burgeoning comedy scene, and for me, I was attracted because they had a lot of equity theaters, and I'm equity, and so I thought, well, actors always need day jobs. My day job could be, I'm an actor. I'm doing a play. I have an understudy, so when and if I book something in film and TV, I can go shoot. But during the day, I'll be doing theater, and I was fortunate enough to do a lot of plays there. I did a play called Hero. Father Comes Home from the Wars. I played a character called Hero. It's a 3-hour Civil War drama with 2 intermissions about a slave who's offered his freedom in exchange for fighting for the Confederates. Susan Laurie Parks, Pulitzer Prize winning work. And I played Hero in that, which Sterling K. Brown did on Broadway. So I was in Atlanta. I did a rom-com on stage called In Love and Warcraft at the Alliance. So I was doing a lot of theater there. I was still teaching acting through a theater company called Kenny Leon's True Colors, working with the great Nikki Toombs, Miss Hilda Willis, and I started teaching at Kennesaw State there as well, university there as well. So, I had a burgeoning life as an artist there, doing stage plays, teaching acting, and I was still booking some film and TV.
This is like the actor grind.
Yeah. And I felt like I hit a ceiling. I felt like I'd gotten as far as I could go because the leads were still and always coming out of LA, sometimes New York. So I felt like, if I wanted to be true to myself, back to Hamlet, if I wanted to be true to myself, I needed to move to LA to pursue, being a series regular, being a lead on TV shows and movies. So that's how I ended up. That's my journey from LA, New Orleans, Atlanta, back to LA.
That's interesting. So, a lot of these acting, these theater roles in Atlanta, if you're an actor in LA with credits with a name for yourself, a TV show, they'll give you leading roles.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that and I had a friend point this out even when I was at
Because they sell
CalArts.
tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, never forget Lisa Loudit saying to me, if I'm the lead in a play, it's not necessarily going to get me a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm the lead in a TV show, it can get me any play I want,
Yeah.
So, but that grind, I never.
I wish people would teach something like that. A lot of that, I don't know if it's economics. I don't know if it's, like the industry, but like that type of strategy is something that is tough because, most things in life and how most people would think is like, yeah, if I work hard as an actor, I can make it. But you start to realize like, no, it's there's a lot more to it, right? Because
Yeah.
I totally see what you're saying. If can't if The Rock says he wants to do Broadway, they will kick off every other Broadway actor out of the way to make room for The Rock
They'll
to be
make
on
some
stage.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, thankfully, or else I wouldn't still be in this business. It was, and of course I want to work. I want to be a series regular on a successful show.
Mm-hmm.
But my drive has always been to be really good.
Yes, yes, yes.
To be really good at the craft of acting. And that for me is about hitting the boards. That's about being on the stage. And I've done that, BA, MFA, decade in regional theater. I've done that, and I want to get back to it. But for now, it'll be, focus on film, TV, and improv. Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this now. So I'm guessing, tackled many different roles, many different stages, like you mentioned. You're probably more at ease on stage than like your top 99% percentile of probably people that feel comfortable on stage, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So now we jump into LA, and you're not acting on stages. You're acting in your apartment in front of a camera, right? Doing self-tapes and things like that. I guess we'll talk maybe more about improv now, where you're like kind of acting in front of a classroom. So what was this transition like?
I was always interested in UCB. We talked about that earlier. I wish I had the moment, but I was aware of UCB even when I was at CalArts. What happened was it was twofold. Sidney Garrett, who directed me in Romeo and Juliet. I played Romeo and Romeo and Juliet, best experience I've had in my life in theater, back home, outdoor Shakespeare festival. She said to me, if an actor can do Shakespeare and they can do improv, they can do anything.
Interesting.
And the more I think about it, there is almost nothing that would not fall. If somebody can skillfully craft Romeo or Othello or Hamlet or Macbeth, and they can do improv, anything in that episode, that recurring guest star on NCIS or Abbott Elementary, whatever, almost. And I thought, oh wow, yeah, that's deep. That's really profound.
So those are the two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I think so. At least for me. And I'd spent, a lot of my adult life mastering Shakespeare as best I could. And I hadn't really done any improv. So when I came back to LA in 2020, there was something called a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So I fell into the.
You moved here in 2020?
Yes.
So like January, February?
Yeah, I think it was like March.
Oh wow! So you only got like a week of LA.
I fell in that same trap as everybody else. Sure. Oh, it'll be in a week, and then the summer, and then like most people, I realized, okay, this isn't going anywhere. So I went home to Missouri.
Good call.
Yeah, to be with my parents, help them out, have a house with a backyard and a dog.
Yeah.
And just, instead of being in my North Hollywood apartment. And I was antsy. And I talked to somebody who I believe it was Ellie, who told me, why don't you take a Zoom class? And we've been talking about my background. Oh, I am an actor. I need the stage. I need to breathe. I need to see the people and do the. David, if I finally, it wore me. I wanted to do something creative. So
Now you're staring at a little black dot with a little green light.
Yeah. So I signed up for Improv 101 at UCB. Well, let me just see how this goes.
Yeah.
Loved it. It
Yeah.
was great. Even on Zoom, I was, oh, okay, this is awesome. We knew how to walk on. You press unmute and turn your video, and so I just kept going. I did 101 through 401 online during the pandemic.
I think one thing I want to ask about, and then maybe we could start jumping into the strengths of it all, the topic of the week. But again, like having all this trained background, all of this, knowing your lines, building your characters, rehearsing, to now I label you as a doctor who loves feet, and you kind of just need to do that. How again, that transition, talk to me about that transition, whether it was easy or hard or anything like that.
Oh man, I hope that doesn't come across the wrong way, but I do think it was easy just because, and it's not me. I think it's the instructors I had. I think it's CalArts. I think it's
also, you mentioned you have a class at 1 to 3, then 3 to 5. So like being able to turn on that dime, that's something that most people don't have experience doing.
Yeah, I think it's just, if you say, I'm a doctor that loves it, my brain just, that's who I am now. It just clicks in for me. And because I was a creative writing minor at Dillard, although that was more poetry, I still have always loved writing. But obviously because of my background, I was much better actor, much more time acting as well than writing. But I do feel like I just had man, I don't like saying stuff like this, but I do feel like I had a knack for it. I feel like
I think you should. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Again, we're talking about a journey, a decade and a half,
plus,
in the making here.
And you pointed out something that's really that I think was really helpful to me, which is, you said, you're more comfortable on stage than 99% of the people. I was just talking about somebody, talking about this with somebody. One of my greatest strengths is I don't care if nobody's laughing.
Mm-hmm.
I did A Father Comes Home from the Wars, which I told you is a 3-hour play about a slave played by me who's offered his freedom in exchange for fighting for the Confederates. It's 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I can be on stage for 3 hours without anybody laughing, and it will not bother me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot in the least, and I think a lot of what I see in improvisers, they start to get uncomfortable. If there's not laughter, they start to invent, they start to reach, they lose their commitment. And for me, that's one positive that I will say about myself unashamedly, which is, it is not gonna, I will do a 27-minute set and nobody laughs. It's not gonna bother me.
Yeah.
Doing bad improv might, but not getting laughs would.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of those things that, like, an improviser so many different things, and it culminates so many different experiences, and you never know which one you're using. But I can definitely say, as someone who does not have as much stage time, there's a certain rhythm that I'm used to, which is like kind of listen, think, respond, wait for the laugh.
Yeah.
And if any one of those rhythms get thrown off, if they don't say something back for me to listen, if I can't think of a comeback, or if I say something and they don't get a laugh, I do start to melt down a little bit, where it's like, okay, something's wrong. And you kind of lose the cadence of it. And that's because my experience has always been just that. What I don't have is like you mentioned, the 3 minutes of silence, right? Or sorry, 3 hours. Not silence, but like 3 hours of not laughing.
Yeah, of not laughing.
I'm like, I get antsy when I don't make a punchline, or if I think of a punchline, it's like, I gotta get this joke out.
Yeah.
Versus being in the moment, which is really not about thinking of a joke, but it's about,
Yeah, I think that's something I want to improve, which is, essentially riding on my feet. But, where my biggest challenge, because my first in-person improv show was opening night for Harold.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never done a show. It had been Zoom improv and classes.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening my first 3 or 4 months was, it was just moving so fast. David. I mean, everything was just happening so fast on stage.
Yes. Yeah. Tagged out, walked
yeah,
on.
I mean, it just
swept.
brain, yeah, just spinning at how fast. I knew the technique, I knew the strategy. I knew academically how to perform in a Herald, but being on that stage, everything was just happening so fast, and it took about 3 months in before I felt like I was myself. And I think it wasn't really until this season where I felt like I can slow down. I had a guitar teacher who would always say, if you can't do it slow, you can't do it fast. Because part of the gift and the curse of watching Yeti, Leroy, Bitchin, the big team is pop, 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 pop. They're moving, they're cooking. And so my taste exceeds my skill, because I'm watching people who are moving really fast, at least seemingly from the audience. I'm sure their internal clock feels like they are in complete control. And so for me, that's the challenge. Even when we're in the manifestation circle, before we do improv shows now, before we go on Herald and everybody's saying that what they want to do, mine is always the same. Slow down. Slow down.
That's great. Any other last thoughts on your journey so far? Anything you're looking forward to in the future?
Thank you to all those teams who, I watch, because I feel like that's what, I realize, I don't know that anybody else has that story. I don't know that anybody else, their first in-person improv show was opening night for Herald.
I don't think so either.
But I'm a Yeti stan. I just saw them a couple of days ago. Leroy, Bitchin, I watched them a lot, and then there were individuals who I will watch a bunch, and I feel like, well, you talked about this earlier, like, that's how you learn what's possible. Watching, Carl Tart, Mary Holland, people who are Betsy Sidaro, Lisa Gilroy, watching people who are so great. I think of it like the Matrix, where Morpheus has that great line where he goes, "You think that's air you're breathing?" It's like, when I step on stage, anything is possible.
Yeah.
There's no script, and so watching great teams and great people, we've said it before, it bears repeating, that I think that accelerated me as much as anything. And I'm looking forward to getting better, to getting my hours. I think I'm excited, because I believe I can get a lot better at improv.
Yeah, for sure. A lot more potential for you to kind of to scale through,
Yeah, I think I can get, to wrap it up, I think I can get better as a classically trained actor. I do, of course, always.
We can always, improve on.
But I think it's somewhat the law of diminishing returns. I think it'll be incremental. I just spent so much time doing it.
Yeah.
That what excites me about improv is that I'm a baby, and I think Jim Wood says you're still cutting your teeth. I mean, I think I'm excited about the possibility of getting really good at this craft.
All right, so we're gonna go and jump into our next segment now, which is going to be our topic of the episode. All right, so this is something that you posed to me. I always love it whenever my guests have a topic in mind. It takes the heat off of me for having to think of a topic. But you wanted to talk about the strengths of a player and how they can bring that into improv.
Yeah, I mean, I think because one of the options for topics was starting with a new team.
Yeah.
And I think those go hand in hand, which I have a little experience.
You have two experiences for that now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say starting with a new team, what I've learned and what I is assume brilliance. Assume that your teammates are brilliant. go into it that way, because anybody auditioning for a house team anywhere, you're going to most likely, sometimes it works out. You get a friend or somebody from an indie team. But, for me, my first Hail team, Rumors, they were 7 strangers, 7 people I'd never seen before. Never met before. I think that's true. Maybe I'd seen them, but I certainly didn't know them.
I think, and this is something I've been talking to a lot of my friends about, like, I've been really thinking about, like, 99%, I mean, can't, quantify it, but a huge majority of improv that you'll ever do in your whole life is with strangers. Be it a class, be it a jam, be it a house team. It's very rare, and it's the exception to the rule that you're actually finding your friends, putting together a practice group, setting a team.
Right.
That's so much more rare compared to the mashups and being asked to do a show.
Right.
It's most of the times working with strangers, and I think you know that better than anybody, since like you mentioned, like your first show was with 7 strangers.
Yeah.
So would you say, in terms of like the topic of like playing to your strengths, is that something that you learned a lot as an actor? Because that's what I guess a lot of acting is.
I think absolutely. If anybody that wants to work as an actor better know what their strengths are, they better know what they're good at.
Yeah.
Because I think this business is so vast and so wide that when somebody can have a singular focus, it will really help. It's tough on new teams though, because for me, I'm not quite sure, and I think my teammates would probably echo the same sentiments. People knew what their strengths were on that team. And here's what I mean. I talked to a veteran improviser who said, when I play on this team, I'm the wild, crazy, person that's going berserk up there. And when I play on this team, I'm a grounded voice of reason that's framing and labeling everything.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult to know what your strengths are your first year on a team that's put together by an improv theater, unless you had a very good sense of it coming in. But if I'm working with or coaching improvisers or getting people ready for Herald or call, I always start by asking, what are your strengths? And sometimes people will say, I don't know, which is really exciting because it means they get to find out. So I think knowing your strengths is awesome. If you've been doing improv long enough to know what you're good at, that's awesome. Congratulations, because that will put you ahead of the curve. I would just say you're gonna need to be willing to adjust, 1 degree north or south, east or west, depending on your team, because you may realize your team needs something else in order for them to have the best synergy possible.
Yeah. I see what you mean by that, because your strengths with one group is going to be different than your strengths for another group, especially, if you think you're really good at, for instance, labeling. Well, if you're on a team with 7 people that can label, all of a sudden they may not be the strength that they need out of you.
Right. And this is somewhat controversial, because I do come from a sports background, but I do think improvisers should play to their strengths. I do think people should,
as opposed to being like well-rounded.
I think the goal is always to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
But I think there's something beautiful about someone who knows what they're good at and does it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think especially, the more we learn, the more we train, the more time we spend into this, also the more people that we meet. I think I'm coming of the, I agree with you that it's impossible to be good at everything,
Right.
Even Shaq couldn't shoot,
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because, and I think I need to find a healthy balance between all the different worlds that I come from when it shapes how I view improv. But Steph Curry greatest shooter that ever lived. That's indisputable by anybody who follows basketball. They'll tell you, you're not going to see Steph Curry drive to the rim and try to dunk on somebody.
Yeah. He's not going to post up.
Yeah. You're not going to see Steph Curry posting up or trying to play bully ball, throwing people down and being the enforcer of a team. Steph Curry is a shooter, and he wants to be he wants to set good screens. He wants to be a good rebounder. He wants to pass. You know, he can dunk, right? He can.
He's tall enough physically.
Yeah. But when he gets in a game, he does what's best for the Golden State Warriors, which is he focuses primarily on shooting.
Yeah.
And so it's controversial, I know, because improvisers, that everybody wants to be good at everything. And I think that's the right way to go. But I think when it comes to a team, it could be that a team is best served by an improviser getting their Steph Curry on, by doing what they're good at for that team, because the Golden State Warriors have Draymond Green to be an enforcer and set screens and rebound. Right. So Steph Curry doesn't need to do that. Yeah.
You know, I think this is one of those important things that you mentioned too. Like, you have to identify yourself, because unfortunately, maybe people have tried and failed, but unfortunately there are no positions in improv.
Right.
There's two roles. We know there's a unusual person, voice of reason, but the ways that you can play each of those roles is completely different. That's like saying there's an offense and a defense.
Right.
There is no point guard, but I see your point. Like, if you're put on again, it could be a jam, it could be a class show, it could be a house team, whatever it is, you need to kind of decide, am I going to be the center? Am I going to be the shooting guard? Right. And also, if you realize, oh, actually, some of these other guys, they all want to play center. Maybe I should try to play point or whatever, right? And it's a hard time because we don't have the language for it. We don't have the definitions of these different roles.
Right.
So you have to do it much more intuitively, or like you mentioned, that EQ. You realize someone is just very eager and very like, you know, trying to get out there. You have to realize, I want to be the one to slow it down.
Exactly.
So in addition to playing your own strengths, it's almost recognizing other people's strengths as well.
That part. It's seeing where you fit. It's like, it's as if the set is asking you a question. The set is asking you, the team is asking you, what do I need?
Yeah.
And I will further dig myself into controversy by saying, when I watch veteran teams, for the most part, people tend to do play the same roles.
Yeah.
People tend to, who their voices of reasons are, tend to be their voice of reasons. Who their unusual characters are, tend to be their unusual characters. And my hypothesis is it's because at that point, they know it's their strength and they're comfortable with it. And they know it's how they can best serve that team. I think starting on new teams, it's quite natural. Everybody's still trying to find their voice. And I hope people don't take this the wrong way and I don't become a pariah in the improv community. But it's very rare that I see improvisers who are 50-50. Most improvisers, and I'm talking about specifically the teams I have, the theater rather, where I have the most experience, which is UCB, where it kind of breaks down into unusual versus voice of reason. Most improvisers are better at one than they are the other.
I don't think that's a hot take.
Okay, good.
Save that for that's not the hot take here. And again, even if they don't want to admit it to themselves, I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing that people want to improve themselves. It's good that Steph Curry wants to learn how to lay up, right? But it's also a bad thing when Steph's saying, guys, pass me the ball.
Right.
I'm going to make a break for don't do that.
No, don't.
And I think that's also why, thankfully, you have a good coach to say, shut the heck up and just shoot from the outside. Shoot from the half court if you have to.
Right.
I'm not trying to, but in any case, hopefully that's what a good coach in improv is doing as well.
Right.
Which is saying, hey, I'm comfortable saying this about myself. A good coach better tell me, hey, David, why don't you stop initiating so much? Receive, listen, because you're really good at recognizing what the premise pool was. You're good at deciding what we need, whether it's a good location or a good reaction to it. And that's kind of what the coach I want, rather than the coach to say, hey, David, I know you're really good at being the voice of reason, really good at responding, but when you initiate, try initiating this way. How about you tell me what I really need to hear, which is, if you want to work on initiating, let's do that in practice. on a show, let me just hear you step out, be a good scene partner, because that's what you do best.
Hallelujah and amen. Because I have had a coach, and I won't say their name in case they wouldn't like that, who said, yeah, practice is where you work on becoming well-rounded, and it may change. We should all be well-rounded.
Yeah.
Shows are supposed to be good. And I think you're absolutely, you could play, initiate and play an unusual character. I've seen you play a handful of times. We did one set that we just.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With the Friday,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
heralds,
You
Zetas.
guessed it for us
Yeah.
with our team. But yeah.
But and I think that's awesome that you are comfortable enough in yourself and have matured enough in your process to know what your strengths are and to play to that, because you are an excellent voice of reason, so solid, so grounded, and I think it has paid dividends, and it's going to continue to catapult you in the improv community, because
sure,
this is where my bread is buttered.
And now that we're kind of talking about this, now that we can kind of try to define it, I want to bring up some things that people have brought up in the past. I'm sure you heard of a robot pirate ninja.
Yeah, sure.
These are, again, like, there's no defined position like there is in basketball or any other sports. So people have tried to do it. Again, we have all these different philosophies of voice of reason unusual. We have pirate, robot, ninja. We have actor, director, writer, whatever it is. People are trying not to put you in a box, but they're just trying to help you focus your skills.
Yeah.
And hopefully, and here's what I'm trying to get at, though, because whenever people have that conversation, are you a pirate, a robot, or ninja? Unfortunately, I think most people mislabel themselves, or they say what they want to be rather than what they are. And I think that's a tough thing. I think you're an actor, so maybe you are much more adept at this, because as someone who's much more writing and directing focused, I have no hard times just saying no. I see you, like, when I'm writing a character, right? If I'm casting someone, like, no, I see you as like the lovable best friend,
right?
But in their head, they're like, no, I'm the action hero.
Yeah,
and it can get upsetting for some folks,
Yeah, I say to acting students sometimes, the second word in typecast is cast.
Yeah, right. That's an important.
The second word in typecast is cast.
Yeah.
Do you want to be type home, or you want to be typecast?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Because it's very few actors that are chameleons. Most actors who are working play the same roles. And again, this is a public forum. I'll just say most. 98% of the actors, and anybody who wants to grab a drink with me at a bar, then I'll name some, and we can go over their filmography.
Yeah.
And I will explain to you and show you how they're really just playing the same character.
Yeah. And I think that's like the challenging part about, I don't know this from my own experience, but I had an actor friend tell me that, where in acting school, they told everybody leading man, supporting actor, comedic relief, right? Just based off of, and it sucks to be labeled like that, but I don't know. It's a tough thing. I think
it's helpful, and I think it's natural and ambitious. I love that people want to be good at everything. I want to be good at everything, but I think the way to be successful is to know what you're good at, and then if you want to, expand, and go for different genres. You see that with a lot of actors who may get bored and they try, they want to challenge themselves and do something. I'm all for that, but the way to be successful initially is knowing who you are. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I actually kind of want to hear what you would say. Let's just say I was an actor, and let's say my aspiration is to be an action star. I want to be the next Tom Cruise. But you don't see me as that. You see me as someone who's much more dramatic, someone who maybe is much more in a supporting role, character actor.
Right.
Like, what would you say to that person? And hopefully we can kind of extrapolate this to improv. But what would you say to someone who has aspirations, but you're like, but every time I put you in a comedic role, you crush it,
Yeah, I would say Tom Cruise is doing an excellent job of playing himself. He's mastered how to play Tom Cruise well. Lou Poulter, an acting teacher at Cal Arts, said this, God rest his soul. I want you to play yourself, the interesting one. So I would tell that actor, let's learn how to play the best version of yourself, the interesting version of yourself. And when you do that well, once we've mastered that, and you have millions of dollars, if you want to blow up buses and run over hills and jump off cliffs with the motorcycle, do it. But let
Yes.
me
Yeah.
help you have access by teaching you how to play yourself well right now. And, you know, you're not in the same demographic or type of person that Tom Cruise is. And that's good. Let's embrace that. Talking about improv, I think it's important to say I said it earlier, it's very rare that I've seen an improviser who's 50-50 split. Voice of reason, unusual character. They do both of them equally well. And I further want to say, I don't necessarily, you could be equally good at both, and that means you're not good at either way. You know what I mean?
That? Yeah, you're splitting hairs.
You could be. Oh yeah, if that's your goal. Yeah, you're equally good at both, which is to say that you need improvement on a lot of both. You could be, 90-10, 80-20, and still be the funniest person on Harold. Still be the best person in that ASCAT, and you're 80-20, voice of reason, 20%. So I think people. And I understand why people equate that with being good. I'm 50-50. I can do both equally well. And maybe that's true for them. For me, some of the best people have one lean heavily in one way. Some of the funniest people I see perform at improv venues throughout the city have a certain set of skills.
Yeah.
And they use those skills.
Yeah. I think you're bringing up a really good point too. We talked about like practice versus shows, but there's also different types of shows. I think people need to like also consider that if it's going to be something UCB, house team, Herald Night, that's a very specific thing. And again, we're talking about like bringing it back to like getting casted, they are casting a very specific thing. So they are looking for a very specific skill set out of you. Now, what would you say you bring what strengths do you say you bring to your team?
I'm glad you asked, because it's something I think improv teams should talk about on their own or led by a coach early and often. My answer is I'm an actor. When I'm going to act my way through the set. So if somebody if you're going to initiate a scene and you know that your voice of reason is a war-torn, broken down man, that's what you need, call on me, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
If somebody does an opening where they are describing a character who always jiggles when he gets excited, I have no questions about why I was cast on Harold, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm the actor of the group.
And on that stage, that's what they're looking for, and that's what you're going to bring out. And on other stages, so if it was going to be a show like at Ouija, so if it's going to be like like an indie show, right? Maybe that could be where you don't necessarily if Steph Curry wants to practice his layups, he can do it on the playground. He could do it,
absolutely,
the scrimmages. So I think that's an important thing, that not to say that like you can only be one thing. We're not trying to
no.
And I think about that a lot as well. Like again, I know knowing my strengths, I know I get bored of it. I know it's boring sometimes. Sometimes I do want to be a talking dog,
right?
But recognizing when the right moment to do that is, whether it be with a different team or on a different stage. Here's a chance for me to flex that,
it's where you can be most helpful. Is what does this team need from me? And I think if anybody who's willing to, and I played in my first organized basketball game at 5 years old. So that's how my brain works. Anybody who's willing to give themselves over to a team, what's the best use of what I can do for this team? And I think people playing to their strengths is the best way to do that. And having now 3-4 months into my second season, I truly believe that's one of the differences between veteran teams and new teams.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, for those listeners who, are still trying things out, they're still taking classes, they don't really know what it is. What would you say are some positive indicators or positive signs that they can use to determine what their strengths are?
Keep playing. First of all, keep playing and let success be your guide.
Success, yeah.
Let success be your guide. I would tell, and this is again an acting crossover. What feels natural to you? What feels organic? What feels easy?
Yeah.
And see, for some strange reason, and I get it. When people think of art, they want the hard thing. They want to do no, I want to play the character that's bent over with the hump and he has only one face in my face. They want something that's hard and challenging. And that's great. I get it. I support you. I'm going to cheer. I'm going to buy a ticket. I would say when you're starting out, what's easy for you? Is it easy for you when somebody comes in and they're crazy for you to just sit there and be sarcastic, like, man, why'd you just jump up? Was that easy? Did that feel natural for you? Did it feel natural for you to play a barking dog? And I would also shout out to clown class. Listen for laughs. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. For me, how I kind of determine what my strengths are, in addition to getting good feedback from certain coaches that has always been really supportive and helping me like have some self-reflection, it is going to be off of the audience. You're going to know whenever you tag in and tag out or walk on, whenever you're trying to do certain moves, you know which ones work and which ones don't. And like I something that I'm always very like conscious of is whenever I get mad, and coaches have said this, but I know audience has also told me this. When I get angry and upset, audience loves it. They laugh. I don't love getting angry because it's a lot. I get sweaty, my voice gets hoarse, but like screaming, yelling, throwing a tantrum, throwing a fit always works. So that's one of those things that like at the end of the day, whether I want to use it, whether it's useful or not, I have it in my back pocket and I know that it is like a move, a thing I can use.
Yeah.
Another thing I think is also helpful is that your teammates, hopefully, like you mentioned, once you get to know each other, they'll tell you, not necessarily directly, they're not going to say, David, we love this, but they'll tell you because all of a sudden they can't help themselves tagging in to jump into the scene with you. So that to watch you do your thing again, or by walking on, right? So like, as they do more support moves, if they want to see David get angry, because audience loves it, coach loves it, teammates love it, you better believe all 7 of them are going to try to do their best to do whatever to make me mad. So because they want to see David, they want to see him keep doing it. They want to see him do this as much as he can. And same thing with you, with your acting, they want to throw in as many challenges. We're going to try to make Evan break. Yeah. And that's something that can be again, another proof of your strength, that if your teammates are all trying to make you laugh, that's because they all see Evan staying in character, staying dramatic and staying focused is the most interesting version of you, right?
I'm proud to say I've only broken twice in improv in my improv training. I guess now if you go back to Zoom, a few years in, but I've only broken twice. So yeah, I love when people try. But you're absolutely right. I think it's listening for laughs, listening to your teammates, listening to veteran coaches that will help. We did a Power of Attorney, which is my current Herald team show, our second show of the season. Right when we walked off stage, right when we get past the curtain, my teammate Derek Hackett turned to me and said, "I love that character." So it's just being aware of stuff like that. It's like, and I think, knowing what kind of feedback you're getting, because like you said, nobody, teammates, hopefully they should not be going, David, you should be, nobody should be doing that. But it's that positive reinforcement of the tag, so everybody can play with this character, or somebody literally leaving stage and be like, yo, I love that character.
I never thought about that. I think a lot of times, and maybe from your acting background, you get so many notes after rehearsals, right? You rehearse the whole play, and then you get, and like being able to like, do you write them down usually?
I write all my notes down.
Great. And like, I hope more people get in the habit, because you're right. Some of those compliments from a friend, I think for me, sometimes I tend to like disregard them because like, oh, you're my friend, you're just saying that.
Yeah.
But really, when someone says, hey, when you said that line or when you did that thing, I love it. Really, the real message is do more of that. Keep
Yeah.
doing that.
Even if they're not thinking of it that way. If somebody's telling you, oh man, that was so quick how you came in with that line and you said tennis balls, my liege, or whatever. That was, oh, they're telling you you're a really good writer. You're really good. You know, they're saying that. So
don't hesitate. Next time you think of something, just say it, because it tends to be the right thing to say.
I think that's a great way to find your strengths and then start playing to them. I think one of what I appreciate about Power of Attorney so far, it feels like people, no, I mean, and we're still figuring out, we can get a lot better, but I think people on this team know their strengths. They know what they're good at. They're comfortable with it, and they bring that to the set. And I think that there's an ease when people are playing like that.
Awesome. That's great. You know, when you first brought this topic up, I was like, I don't really know what this means. I was thinking, like, are we going to talk about, you know, if you can sing, or if you're a good dancer, dance? But this is making much more sense now.
Yeah.
Do you have any other like thoughts or anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of playing your strengths? Or
no, I'm glad you said it wasn't a hot take, because I was, you know, being new to the community and wanting, and I have so much admiration for so many people. How about this?
It's not a hot take. It's I would say an under like it's what am I trying to say? No one says it. I don't know why that is. And again, like coming from a writing background, you better believe people are telling me what works and what doesn't. And I can't get upset about that, because at the end of the day, if I want more people to read it, or if I want this to be made, it must be something that people enjoy.
I'll tell on myself before we move forward. I mean, because it's, I thank you for the forum to talk about it, because it's something that I've privately talked to veteran improvisers and coaches about at least a dozen times. Well, I've asked them privately, you know, and I'll say, and I'll, you know, be sitting with them at the bar or whatever, and I'll go, hey, why don't people do what they're good at in improv? Because coming from basketball or acting or writing, people do what they're, and I'm like, why? Can you explain? Help me understand why people
and what have they said?
what they're good at? I think it is that people want to become well-rounded, which is completely and totally understandable. We've talked about that. I don't mean to be redundant, and I get that. I think it just comes down to, in a team sport, it seems wise to serve your team with what you're best at. That's all.
And I think one more thing, like that, as you were saying that, I totally get it. I think that wants to be good at everything, they want to be well-rounded. I think that also stems from not thinking what they're good at is already good enough. I think that's really important. So maybe that's something that if y'all are listening, just to leave you all with, you know, like, you are already good. Are you good at everything? No, but nobody's good at everything. I think that's an impossible standard to meet, you know? Again, you think about professional actors, you think about professional athletes. Nobody's good at everything. But what they are good at, they're already good enough. And that's what most people already have. Most people are already good enough. And don't, I guess that's like that saying, don't let the pursuit of perfection, don't let the pursuit of great stop you from good enough, or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'll say this, and then I know we have to move on. I'm Lisa Gilroy is Superwoman.
Yeah.
I'm sure she can do anything in an improv set. I'm sure she can play great voice of reason, grounded. She does it in film and TV. She's also a woman who, when it comes to improv, and she also should be said as one of the nicest people I've met in the UCB community, in period. When I see Lisa Gilroy on stage doing improv, I'm seeing a woman who knows what she's good at.
Right.
And she's comfortable with it. And she's comfortable with herself. And also happened to be the funniest person on Herald in my time that I've been around UCB. So maybe that's a big part of it. But that is an example of the power of somebody knowing what they're good at and leaning into what they're good at.
Great. Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to close it out. Thanks so much for bringing that up. Again, a really great topic of the episode to discuss.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for our last segment. This is going to be our
hot improv takes.
So that one wasn't that hot take, but I'm ready to hear your hot improv take. Do you have one, or do you want me to get started?
You started off. I have two. I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to go down. So maybe yours will help me.
So I did have one, and it's going to contradict what we talked about. But you know what? If it contradicts, we'll discuss it. All right. Hot improv take. Sometimes the most funny thing you can do is not make the joke. Sometimes we get overloaded with jokes. I was just watching Deadpool and Wolverine this couple days ago. I don't want to spoil anything, but something I will say is that it is just joke after joke after joke after joke, and they are funny. But after a while, not only am I tired of laughing, I don't know what's happening in the story. I don't know what's happening in the movie. I get that there's been like 20 different punchlines, but let's move on.
Yeah.
Are you moving forward? Are you going backwards? Are you hurt? Are you happy? Are you sad? I don't know, because all I've heard is like three people or three lines that don't have anything to do with like the reality of what's going on. So my hot improv take is maybe like kind of like what you're saying, slow down, stop making jokes. Let's just move the scene forward. Let's just move things along. That was kind of my hot take, but
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
If everything's a joke, nothing's a joke.
Yeah, exactly. And you should still watch Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, that's a great movie. It was just, man, like I you know what it is? There's this guy behind me that would not stop laughing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I wanted that guy to stop, like, because you, yeah, you get him. Great, happy, good for you. But also, like, can you stop making jokes so he'll finally shut up so we can move forward?
Yeah, I need to go see it. Yeah, but I think that's really important in improv and comedy. At least, you know, everybody's got different styles. I haven't seen that particular film yet. I'll check it out soon. But yeah, I think there's got to be build tension, release, build, release. And maybe that's just because my brain, I couldn't just constantly write. Maybe if I could, I would, but I don't think so. But I just can't write jokes that are just.
And part of my hard take is, even if you can, just don't.
Yeah.
1 was enough. 2 is great. 3 is getting too much, you know, or take some time. Let's build some more tension again and then save it in your pocket.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was mine.
I have one about the size of improv teams. I think I'm going to chill because I think that'll be longer to get to unfold, to unpack. I will say, improvisers, sit down.
Oh,
please sit down.
Go ahead.
I get it. There's a lot of different reasons, and I'm not talking about people who have to leave a show early for whatever reason. They got to pick somebody up from the airport and all that, or whatever. Or maybe you're in the next show, and so I get all
so
that.
Generous. They got to pick someone at the airport. No, they don't.
But for the improvisers who are watching in the wings, or if they're at the clubhouse, they're behind the rows, behind the bleachers. Sit down. Please go sit down. I do understand part of why some of those people may be standing, but it's so helpful to have people in the house. You're an improviser, you know that. So go sit down. If there's 6 people in the wing at watching the show at UCB, that's another row. You just filled a row, or you just caused whoever's house managing to put out another row of chairs on the stage. And because you're an improviser, you know the difference of how that feels. And laughing is so communal, and we know it's contagious. So joining the house, going to sit down will help the show. You would want it to feel packed out there. And sometimes I'm at the clubhouse, Lyric Hyperion, where people are standing in the little doorway, or UCB, whatever. Sometimes, man, there's 5, 6, 7 people standing, and I'm like, go sit down. You'll help if you can. David says you're not going to pick up people at the airport, but if you can,
no, you're not.
If you're there to see that show and there's a seat that you can get to, please go sit down, or ask the house manager to do another row. It's just so helpful. We know about lead laughers. We know how comedy works. It's so helpful because when you perform, that's the irony. When you're performing, you want the house. Nobody watching the show knows that you get to be over there because you're on the house team. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Just improvisers, go sit down. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I think I've had that same hot take a couple episodes ago. I agree. I don't know what. I don't get it. You think you're cooler? I don't know. You don't want to wrinkle your silk shirt? What's the deal?
I think, I had a veteran improviser say, And this is a veteran improviser who sits down, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm like, man, why do they? and he said, people work so hard to, it takes so long to get on that, they feel like, oh, now I can finally stand over here. And I get that.
Oh,
Stand
they
over
think
there.
it's
Yeah. Stand over there when there are no seats. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I was gonna say that.
You still get that same.
Yeah.
Also, nobody in the audience knows that that's
No one's
why you're
watching
over
you in the
there.
audience. People are watching the
Yeah.
stage. That is
Um,
funny that they think that it's like a status thing. Because I would think that the status is you get to sit your butt down.
yeah.
You get to rest your legs. The people that are grinding and working hard are the ones, that should be,
Yeah.
going through it.
When I produce something at
Mhm.
UCB, I love producing shows. When I produce something, I ask whoever's house managing that night, please do not let anyone stand over here.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's great. That's a great policy. All right, great. So you heard it here, everybody. It's a hot take, but if you're standing up, we will escort you. We will put out a folding chair for you. That's how much we want you to sit down.
yeah.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Evan. Before we wrap up, I just want to hear any plugs you got. Go ahead, any shows you want to promote.
My film Love on Speed is playing at LA Under the Stars. I produced, wrote, directed, and played the lead in a short rom-com called Love on Speed. It's playing at LA Under the Stars, which is a really cool festival, top 100 film festival in August. Follow me at Evan Cleaver, Cleaver. And I'll be posting about that as it gets closer to time. And come check out Power of Attorney on Herald Night, which I always post when we have shows coming up to Power of Attorney.
Usually Mondays.
Yeah, usually Mondays.
And
now
Thursdays.
Thankfully they've started Herald Thursdays now, so
Mhm.
we just had a show Thursday, and this will come out after. But we have a show Monday, and it feels great to get those reps. So yeah, come check out Power of Attorney.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much, Evan. Really appreciate you stopping by, getting a chance to talk to you, hear more about your journey, and share your story with everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye. Thanks for listening. All right. That was great. That was super fun.
Yeah, that was great. Was it too long?
No.